We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy George Mackay, back here, Straight Talk Wrestling, and this is a really, really big deal for me, an honor for me. Big fan of this gentleman when I was a kid, and now to have him on the show, truly special. Shout out to TJ, my boy TJ, aka Todd, for hooking this up. Please help me welcome Tony Norris, aka Ahmed Johnson, to Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, brother. You?
I can't complain. I'm about to talk wrestling with one of my childhood heroes, so these are like little bucket list moments that get checked off in life. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So, Tony, the first thing I got to ask is I'm a big Owen Hart fan. I don't know if you can see the picture behind me, but there he is right there, the Hart Foundation. I'm a huge Owen Hart fan. And I know that you were there in a pivotal time when Owen Hart was essentially the king of pranks. Now, I read online that there was a prank that was done to you. And I got to ask, having Owen Hart spotlight anybody on a prank is pretty special. But can you talk to me about the prank that was that Owen Hart pulled on you? The rib, aka is what they
Which
call it.
one?
What?
He,
I
he,
guess
he
the
put a
most
few on
infamous
me.
one is the Tonight Show one. That is the most infamous
Oh,
one.
okay, yeah, yeah. We was at WrestleMania, and I'm in my hotel room, and my phone rings. And during WrestleMania, you do all kind of things. You do interviews, you do talk shows, and I got a phone call, and it's from the Jay Leno show. So he's asking me all these questions, my age, what do I like? Basically, interviewing me for the interview. And so I knew I was going to be on the show the next day. So I went out and brought me a new suit, some new shoes, some jewelry. I mean, I was decked out, man.
I love it.
And so I come outside waiting for the limo to come pick me up. And then out walks Davey and Owen. Davey Boy Smith and Owen, they always worked as a team. So they come out and we're talking. And they say, "What you all dressed up for, man?" I said, "Oh, I got Jay Leno's show tonight." And they're like, "Man, that's bullshit. I've been here for so many years and I haven't even gotten Jay Leno's show." And I was like, "Well, you got to take that with the boss. That ain't my fault, take events." So we sat there, man, for almost 20, 30 minutes. And my limo didn't show up. It was late. And so Owen looks at me and says, "Ain't your limo supposed to be here right now?" And me not thinking, how in the hell did he know? I'm like, "Yeah, it's supposed to be in here late." And when I said that, I turned around and him and David Boy are laughing their butts off. And I'm like, "What are y'all laughing at? It was so funny." And Davey was like, "Owen pulled a rib on you, man." I was like, "What?" He said, "Owen pulled a rib." Then Bret Hart walks out. He sees what's going on. He busts out laughing. I almost fell in the bushes. And I'm like, "Man, you got to be kidding me. I don't got me like a $1,500 suit, jewelry, new shoes, and everything. And I'm not going to the Jay Leno show." It was all just a prank from Owen and Davey.
Oh, legendary. I mean, now you said which one. Is there some other ones that people don't maybe know about too well that Owen might have pulled?
Oh my God, man. He pulled one where you know what a stink bomb is, right?
Oh
Little
yeah.
liquid
Oh yeah.
stink bombs.
Yeah.
When me and David Boy did the arm wrestling contest, him and Owen wiped their hands down with stink bomb. So here I am getting ready to arm wrestle, and I'm saying to myself, "Man, somebody smells like shit." And I'm not sure who it is. I know it's not me.
Uh-huh.
And then I keep looking, and Owen's laughing, and Davey started laughing. So I was like, "Wait a minute." They pulled another prank on me. But they didn't only get me, they went in my bag and put stink bomb stuff in my bag. So I was going to meet was going to be wife's parents that night
Oh
for the
no.
first time. And man, I had to go up there in my wrestling gear and everything smelling like dog do.
Hi
And
guys,
I'm
nice to
like,
meet you.
"Man, I'm going to kill you guys."
Oh, Owen Hart, legendary prankster, man. Absolutely. R.I.P. to
He
a
was
legend.
the king, brother.
He was the king. He was the king. And I heard that he always in a time in a turbulence where the locker room necessarily was not always together as they are now. Like a lot of locker rooms are positive places, but they weren't always like that. But I always heard no matter what, Owen Hart was that positive force in almost every locker room he was in.
Yes, brother. I respected him big time for his skills, his talent, and the way he can get me on pranks. You have to respect that, man.
You got to. You got
But
to.
most guys wouldn't even mess with me when I first got there because they were scared of me.
Right. Yeah, of
But
course.
Owen didn't care. Yeah, he didn't care, man.
Yeah. And that just goes to show that didn't matter who had a rocket ship strapped to the back. Didn't matter. When it came to
Exactly.
Owen Hart, if he targeted you, that was it. It was over. It didn't matter who you were. Didn't matter. I love it. I love
That's
it.
true.
I love it. So speaking of locker room division and stuff like that, there's always been reports of certain things, egos, clashes of titans back there, and obviously one of the most infamous, backstage feuds that did spill out beyond in front of the curtain was you and Farouk, aka Ron Simmons. Now, recently there was a picture of you two, I believe, back of May this year, where you two connected with Savio Vega. You guys took a photo, and it seems like from your Facebook post or a post that you also put out there that you guys have kind of buried the hatchet on that. Is that correct? And how did you feel about putting all that animosity to bed?
Well, I mean, Fruit, walked up to me and hugged me and gave me, a handshake. And, we talked about it a little bit, and he was very apologetic, so we just kind of like just buried that whole thing, man, underneath the carpet. Although I still have problems with my kidneys today. I'm still on kidney medication for where he kicked me at.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, on the plus side, at least you're able to kind of have a consensus. And I understand there were long-term effects, but it's always good when you can kind of put those animosity sequences at least be coexisting in a peaceful way. Would you not agree?
Yes, I agree totally.
All right, perfect. I love that. I love that. Now, to talk about your career and everything that was Ahmed Johnson, 1995, 1996, you debut. You got a rocket step track to your back. You're the first ever African American Intercontinental Champion. That's in the history books, never going to change. And unfortunately, due to that injury, you had to drop the title, which was later won by Mark Merrill. And then there was, revenge, or not revenge so much, but a receipt given a little bit later on in one of my favorite matches. I love that street fight. That street fight for me was everything. And you guys literally used everything, including a kitchen sink, which because everybody always throws that out there. Oh, these guys are hitting each other with everything but the kitchen sink. And then what happens? Kitchen sink shows up. So I have to ask about the kitchen sink. When you were planning this match and you guys are getting together with the weapons and you're working with, the prop team and what we're going to do, was the kitchen sink brought up or was that a surprise for everybody?
No, that was a surprise for everybody. Hulk thought about it. The Hulk, was one who thought of the kitchen sink idea.
And when you pull out from under the ring and you see, you're like, damn, these guys, really? We're going to, okay, I guess we're using everything, including the kitchen sink here today.
Yeah, man, I was kind of nervous. I was like, we got all these stuff out here. I don't want to be hit with a kitchen sink,
Yeah, nobody does.
we did the match, man. We had fun.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite matches. It's one of those matches for me that just holds a special place because I remember it so well. I was not in the best I guess you could say headspace as a child. I was bullied. So that time during school, I'd kind of taken a little bit of a timeout. And then that match happened that weekend that I was kind of in the timeout. And I was like, this is perfect because this is the distraction that wrestling is for life. When life sucks and people get too much, you can literally throw on pro wrestling and just drift away. And I'm sure you've talked to fans over the years who have appreciated your work. There are fans that have their opinions. Everyone's a keyboard warrior. Fuck those guys. The fact is, you did it. You reached the mountaintop because you were in WWE. WWE is the pinnacle of pro wrestling, in my opinion. And when you make it there and have the success that you had in that short span of time, despite all the other muffled, blurry lines backstage, you still carved out a piece of history for yourself. So when you meet a fan, someone like myself who says, you know what, you were a big part in a shitty time in my childhood. What does that mean for you?
Man, it means so much to hear from my fans, especially fans like you. Like you said, some stuff is positive, and you got your fans who are negative. They're gonna be negative no matter what, But yeah, brother, I meet a fan like you, man, and TJ, and all the other fans I got. It really lifts my heart up, man.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Now, I have to talk about Goldust. Can't talk about Ahmed Johnson if you don't talk about Goldust. And you don't talk about the infamous did he not? Was he supposed to? Was he? The kiss. Obviously, everybody knows all the stories that have been said about it. But when you're working with a character like Goldust in a time period where characters like Goldust weren't necessarily accepted, when you look at that grand scheme and you're working toe to toe with Goldust and you're in that kind of storyline, was that for you kind of like, well, I got to do what I got to do? Or was it not so much uncomfortable, but was it like, this is going to shock some people? This is what wrestling is. It's shock and awe, right?
Right. Well, see, what happened was we rehearsed this, I don't know how many times, but Goldust knew it was going to be on live TV.
Okay.
So he knew I couldn't get up or move or anything until it was time.
Right.
So we practiced it, and he put his hand over my mouth.
Right.
And he's supposed to kiss his hand. And when it was live TV, he didn't do it. He really did kiss me. And I was like, you son of a gun. I don't know if you've seen the after effects when I picked Bob Holly up.
Oh, yeah.
With one hand. Then I smashed that dude through the door. Goldust thought I was really angry. So they left. Him and his wife left the building.
Yeah.
They thought I was really pissed off. And I really wasn't, man. I mean, that's Goldust. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Another prankster. That's just Goldust.
Yeah, that's and you know what? The longevity. I mean, he's still doing it now and doing it at a high caliber level. When you think about longevity in pro wrestling, not so much the character, but the people behind the character, and the fact that a Dustin Rhodes was still able to wrestle up until pretty much the early part of this year. That's a testament to who he is and his worth ethic. Would you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I spoke to him probably about a month ago at a meet and greet, and I just told him how proud I was on him, man, for still going. And he said he's going to give it one more year, then he's going to retire.
Wow.
And I was like, man, you made me very proud of you, man.
Yeah.
Because you're still going.
And going at such a high level.
I was just going to say that. I mean, going at a very high level, man. I mean,
it's incredible.
He's always been good.
But I think he was always underestimated, or not underestimated, underappreciated in his craft.
Yes.
And that goes with there was a lot of journeymen, if you will, a lot of wrestlers like an Owen Hart, like a Goldust, even like yourself, that were never given those opportunities, or their opportunities were cut short. And it's sad. And I almost think that had the release not happened, and you being in the nation, not getting replaced by Rocky Maivia, we might be in a completely different span of history in terms of where people might be. Because The Rock might have never become The Rock had that opportunity not fallen into his lap. Now, when you're still in the animosity stages of having issues with these people, and then you get thrown into a faction, and you're like, okay, we've got to put egos aside. We got business to do. Was it difficult to be creative with everyone involved in the nation?
Well, yeah, it really was, because, I fought against the nation for years. And then now I'm part of the group. And, I didn't really feel any animosity. I was sad that I was going to lose a bunch of fans for turning heel. Mm-hmm. So I turned heel. Some fans booed me. Then after that, Vince calls us to his office, let's say a month later. And he's like, I want you guys to see something. And he shows a film of me, Mark Henry, and D'Lo walking down to the ring. And he's like, how am I going to get anybody to believe that y'all can be beat? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, he's right on that. So what he did was he said, Ahmed, I'm going to have to take you back out the nation. He said, because, you're the only one that is believable that can fight this nation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, come on. You just turned me heel. I just turned all my fans against me. So I had to kind of start from scratch, with the boys and stuff, man. But, and it was so much jealousy in the nation. They were so jealous of me, man. It was ridiculous.
And why do you think that was? Do you think it was because Vince strapped that rock? I mean, like, you didn't ask for it. You were just
No,
selected. Vince always likes the big, strong, tough, Greek Adonis guys, and that's who you were. So when you get a rocket ship tapped to your back, that's not your fault.
no, not at all. But they
And
didn't see it that way.
yeah, the Green Eye Monster is a fickle bitch. Let's be honest,
Yes,
fickle.
yes.
And
And I mean,
when people turn it on, they can't turn it off.
no, and they were so jealous, man. It was sickening, man. And I think most of it was too because Farouk, Common, and D'Lo had been wrestling there for like what 6 years, 7 years, some even more.
Hmm.
And then they bring this new kid in, and they make him the first African American champion in history.
Hmm.
And that didn't sit well with Farouk, D'Lo, Mark Henry.
But again, I mean, this is the choice of the company and the choice of the creative decisions. And it's funny
Exactly.
because you think about they all have to this day, they all still talk very highly of Vince McMahon. Nobody's got a bad thing to say. So it's like, okay, but remember who the creative decision was. Don't get mad at A if you're not going to get mad at B. Like it just they
Exactly.
coexist together. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Now,
Exactly.
I do have to talk about the fact that the Pearl River Plunge, in my opinion, was one of during that time period the most devastating finishers. When you got simple stuff like an elbow drop or a leg drop or a DDT from Jake the Snake, then you got the Pearl River Plunge, which is essentially almost like a power bomb before a power bomb was a power bomb.
Right.
In essence, this was like the grandfather of the power bomb. When you're in a time period where finishing moves were so predictable and so protective, and you're trying to figure out who Ahmed Johnson is, and you're from Pearl River, that's the name of where you grew up, that's where you're from, and you tie that into your finisher and you make it this just devastating maneuver that not a lot of people kicked out of. What was the design by that to shake up the business because everything was such a blasé finishing move at that time period?
Well, in a way, yes. I had learned it when I was in Japan, and I started doing it. And Kendo Nagasaki told me, keep doing it. He said, that's an awesome move, keep doing it. But if you notice today, nobody has duplicated or copied that move
No.
because it takes too much strength.
Hmm.
Because when you lock a guy arm behind his back and you got to pick him up basically and flip him. I mean, not too many guys are strong enough to do that.
No, absolutely. And considering that the roster of talent has gotten smaller over the years, the strength may still be there, but the fact that they are leaner, the fact that they are more athletic, the fact that everyone can incorporate all these maneuvers, you don't have that big, strong, 6'7", 6'8" mofo that can just pick somebody up by his
Right.
thumb anymore. It just doesn't happen anymore. So I love the fact that when I like that's what hooked me. I saw you for the first time, like, who the hell is this guy? And then he comes, I did the Pro River Plunge. I'm like, I don't care who the fuck he is. I'm in. I am all in. And of course, one of my favorite colors is red. Red. I mean, I'm a Boston
Oh
Red
yeah.
Sox fan for fuck's sakes. So red is everything. Even though I'm a Canadian kid, everybody's like, oh, you should like the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll tell you this right now, Tony. Fuck the Jays. Okay, I'm a Red Sox fan through and through. That's it, 100%. Now, when you look at your career, I mean, you're headlining pay-per-views. You're the first ever African American Intercontinental Champion. You're working toe to toe with Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels, and you're fighting Team Cornette, which, love him or hate him, Jim Cornette has a great mind for the business. When that whole Camp Cornette, versus, the People's Posse and all that stuff that was happening, how cool was it to be there with one of the greatest icons in sports in Shawn Michaels and be able to work side by side with him, Psycho Sid, and so many great moments during that feud.
Well, working with Sean was great, and it showed me the confidence that Vince had in me
Mm-hmm.
because he wouldn't put you with anybody, especially when there's top talents, if he didn't think you were going to get over, you know. And the thing about Sean, man, I'm kind of on the teeter totter with Sean because I seen him do some stuff that was very bad. And then, he let me tag up with him, so I appreciate that. But, when they started that click thing,
Mm-hmm.
man, it just totally got out of hand.
Do you think are you of the belief, and I think this is just a great question because you were there during that time period, the curtain call, which was the first real pullback of the curtain for the fans to see. Do you think that has led us down a rabbit hole of, as fans, not being surprised anymore? Because I almost feel like I can find the results of any show out. And I've been a wrestling fan for a long time, so a lot of times I can guess and still figure out this is how it's going to work for a storyline because I know it's a storyline, but I still love the fact I love being surprised. Even at 42, I love being surprised. And
Right.
almost feel like the curtain call, as much as I am a Triple H fan as well, I am a big fan of Triple H. I look at the curtain call as a disastrous moment because that's the moment where fans were now able to peek too closely behind that curtain.
Right. I can't believe they did that, man. The way the business is supposed to be so kayfabe, quiet and everything. And you were taught to keep the secret a secret. And then they go do that curtain call and just blows it all out the water.
What was the locker room vibe after coming? Because that was, like I said, that was the start of the Monday Night Wars. This is 96. This is right in the thick of your run with WWE. When that happened, did the locker room change all in the span of 24 hours when the curtain call took place?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. A
And not
lot
in a
of
good
guys,
way.
well, a lot of guys were pissed off about it.
Right.
And then you have some guys who were glad about it.
Really?
Yeah,
They thought it was time for the fans to see what was what?
right. To see what was going on.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, the word was already out. It's not real, but it is real to a point. Like people ask me all the time, when you get them chair shots, do they hurt? Yes, we actually use a steel chair. There's nothing fake about that. There's nothing fake about me picking you up over my head and slamming you down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to take that. And if you don't know how to take them bumps, man, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're not properly trained, and we've seen it, we've seen how training can be a benefit, but it also can be somebody who says they're trained but not greenlit all of a sudden starts taking bookings, and then it could be a recipe for disaster. We've seen both sides of the same coin. And safety is a big thing. And to talk about, again, to go back, I mean, Farouk, we know the kick was open. It was unsafe. You've had kidney issues. But there are also some people out there that have said in turn that you yourself might have been a little bit unsafe back then.
Yeah,
What's the I mean, it's kind of a juxtaposition, right? Because you're pointing out the unsafety, but there's people out there again, people who have never stepped in a ring saying, "Oh, he was fake, he was this, he was that." And I'm like, "Well, I want to hear it from you. So what's your thoughts on that?"
um, there was time, just to be honest with you, there was time, when I was a little stiff, but most of the time when I got stiff, it's because you got stiff on me.
Hmm.
So I had to give you a receipt. Because in the business, if I'm fighting you and you let me hit you hard several times and you don't do nothing about it, the word gets back in the locker room to the boys. That old George is he ain't gonna fight you back, man. You can hit him as hard as you want to, but so you give receipts,
Mm-hmm.
and I gave a lot of receipts out because I got a lot of potatoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's factual. And receipts aren't something that's really a lot of wrestling fans don't know. I mean, the first time I heard the term receipt, I'm not gonna lie, I was watching the Page documentary, not the Page film, but the documentary that they shot on her family that inspired the film. And that's when I first heard the term receipt. Before that, I had never known that term had existed. So it's still great at certain points in a wrestling fan's career that they can learn these things. But receipts sometimes spill out and cause those animosities, cause those rivalries, if
Yes,
you will, to become too real, too quick. And
yes,
I think do you think that wrestling is better now, understanding that these things happened before and now there's a lot more policing of the locker rooms and a lot more, if you got an ego, it gets flamed out quickly because even though you're at the top of the pyramid, remember there's 30 other guys coming up right behind you.
exactly, exactly. I think I wish they would have kept it kayfabe,
Mm-hmm.
kept it quiet. I wish they would have, but it didn't happen. And now, the fans know what's going on. and they're still involved, into wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they know exactly what's going on now backstage, but they're still love the business.
Yeah, it's true. I have a love and hate relationship with the business because I love it and I love what I love, but I hate that the IWC, the internet wrestling community, is always divided. You can't just like what you like and be okay. Someone has to shit all over whatever your opinion is because they think their
Exactly.
opinion's better. And again, you've done a lot of meet and greets. You've had fans come up to you and tell you that they appreciate you. You've had fans come up to you and tell you that fuck, you were the shits. When
Right.
when something like that happens, when a fan comes up to you and gives you their opinion, as a professional, as a performer, and as someone who's a character from in this business, is it hard for you not to be like, man, I want to right in the face. I want to
Well,
pop you.
most of the times, man, I really appreciate when fans come up and talk to me,
Okay.
and whether they're positive or negative. I haven't had that many negative fans come up to me. I wonder why.
Oh.
But I haven't had that many negative fans. Most of the time, they're positive, and that I appreciate, man.
I love that because you know what? We remember who our heroes were and who we looked up to as a kid. Now, of course, my taste has changed. I mean, my guys back in the day were always Sting. I was a Sting guy through and through my whole life. And then, of course, Triple H. And I'm not talking Triple H when he was the Game or when he was a Blue Blood. I'm talking Terrorizing. I was a fan of him from WCW. But then when he went over, I flipped, and that's when I discovered everybody else. That's when I discovered you. That's when I discovered The Rock, Stone Cold, all that stuff. So through following your heroes, you discover new heroes. And like I said, you gravitate to the heroes that you want to be in those time periods in your life. So when I
Right.
was that scrawny, overweight kid, I shouldn't say scrawny, when I was that hefty, overweight kid in my younger days, I still am now, but at least, I'm happily married. My wife is gorgeous. So I don't have to look good for anybody else but her. As long as she
That's
finds
all
me
it
good, that's
counts.
all that matters. But I wanted to be that larger than life character. And that's what I resonated with Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed Johnson to me was that character who I wanted to be in real life. I wanted to be tough as nails. I wanted to take no shit. I wanted to be able to pick
Right.
somebody up over their head and slam them down. So I feel like even this days, as us wrestling fans are becoming older and we're exposing our children and our children's children's to the next phase of wrestling, is it cool when you see a father or a grandfather come up and they're like, man, you're my guy, and I've been telling my grandson or my how cool are those moments?
Man, those are the greatest moments, man. And most of the guys that come up to me, because ever since I left, I haven't seen anybody with the kind of intensity that I had. I mean, I was always rearing up, ready to go, man. And you don't see that anymore. People come out with that kind of intensity. You don't see it. Well, you didn't see it back then either, unless I was doing it. But we got a few copycats out there that try to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's never going to be the same.
Yeah,
Once there's one, there can only be one.
right.
You can have people that compliment, oh, he reminds me a little bit of this person, or he has a little bit of this person in him, but he's never going to be, or she's never going to be that person.
Exactly.
And I mean, you look at the short span. Ahmed Johnson came in when the Bret Harts of the world were there, when the Shawn Michaels of the worlds were there, when the Razor Ramones and the Diesels had moved on, and there was that
Right.
void to fill, and the Ultimate Warrior was still there. Hogan was still very much a fixture, but he was a fixture in another place. You carved out a picture, or at least a piece of that pie for yourself in an era where it was very difficult to do. And I don't think a lot of people realize how you were able to break through when there were so many other top tier
Right.
names floating around you. And you also came up in an era where guys like Mick Foley would become a household name, where the
Right.
unexpected would become a household name. When you look back at that locker room and you see all the names that are in the Hall of Fame, and you see, and I mean, again, people have their opinions of the Hall of Fame. Why isn't this person in? This person shouldn't be in. There's this, there's that. What's your stance on the Hall of Fame? If WWE
Well,
were to ever reach out, would you go into the Hall?
I don't know, man, because the reason I'm not in the Hall of Fame was because Vince was pissed off at me for walking out on him. But what he wanted to do, and this is why I walked out, Then one, my sister was sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was on my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to do an angle where the True Commission, which, you know, they're supposed to be from South Africa. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, apartheid was going on. But he wanted to do an angle where they hung me from a rope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I mean, because that's not something you play with. You know, because my people has been hung for years from ropes. And to me, that's not something you play with. That was taking it too far. And that's where we had our disagreement at, and I walked out on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been vindictive ever since.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, again, that's not surprising. You've heard that. But there also have been a lot of fences mended with people who had that same kind of vindictiveness Vince McMahon had against them. So is there
Right.
like if WWE were to call and say, listen, you know, Tony, Vince is no longer with the organization. We want to put things to bed. We want to give you that place in the hall. Would you accept?
I think I would. I think I would. Like you said, as long as Vince is not involved in it, I think I would do it. And it's sad because, don't get me wrong, Vince treated me well. I mean, he treated me real good. But that one angle ruined everything because there was no way I could do that, man. Let them hang me from a rope.
No, I completely agree.
I couldn't do it.
Especially when your sister, who is a big wrestling fan, as you've stated multiple times,
Yes,
watches the product, and this is the image she's going to see when she's already having the fight of all fights. This is the image that she's going to see.
right.
Had things been approached differently, and he had come to you with the storyline, and you still stood your ground, do you regret walking out? Because you already said no, but do you regret walking out the way you did, or do you think that no matter what, he would have forced that down your throat?
I think I would have walked out with that angle regardless. Now, if he came with another angle, I would probably still be in the ring today. But you know, he wouldn't back down, and I wouldn't back down. It was two bulls hitting each other. I'm not going to back out. You're not going to back out. So the best thing for us to do is just call it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with the stance that you had. And you've also stated that, I mean, okay, let's be honest. I'm going to ask a pull point question here. Vince McMahon, when all the stuff came out about him a few years ago, was it surprising?
Not really.
Was it a little bit like this should have came out fucking years ago?
Yeah, I was kind of, you know, because there were rumors out when I was there that they were messing around with the girls and even some of the boys. You know, Pat Patterson, them, they were gay, and they messed around with some of the ring boys who were like 15 and 16 years old. You know, and here they were promising the dream. You know, if you do this for me, I'll make sure you get a spot at the top of the roster. You know, and I'm sure them young boys didn't know any better.
No,
they were just chasing their dreams.
Yeah, and they were kids. They were unfortunately, easy targets and easily influenced. And it's sad. And when those rumors were floating around, you still have to conduct business. So it's really hard. And again, whenever somebody reaches that pinnacle of success, everyone's quick to tag him down. So it was hard to, I guess, not so much pinpoint what was real and what was false, because accusations have come out that have been proven to be false. But when all this stuff does come out, and you're like, damn, do you ever feel like maybe all of you, if you had been united on that, could have maybe stopped all that shit from happening? Not yourself, like not putting all that on your shoulders, but had the rumors been confronted earlier, and all of you, like the entire roster got together and said, no, this is not right. We're not going to take this shit anymore. Do you think that would have changed anything, or he would have just fired everyone?
I think it would have changed a whole lot, man. But the thing about professional wrestling that bothers me is because, you know, I was in the military. I was most distinguished undergraduate in the military. I was with the Dallas Cowboys for a while. So I was used to having a team around me, or at least that team type of atmosphere.
Brother.
And WWF, it wasn't that, brother. It was every man for himself. And I couldn't get with that. And then they start forming these cliques. You know, the Nation had their clique, the Hart family had their clique, Shawn Michaels had their clique, and I didn't get involved with any of the cliques. And I think that also made people mad. So I wouldn't, you know, jump over to the Nation because they're all black. I just wasn't going to do it, man.
You associated with who you liked, and that was it. Plain and simple.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, I'm a man of morals. I can respect that. This is why do I have to be over here? Why do I have to be? I can be with everyone. I could be pleasant with everyone and not have to have, you know, those close friendships, but I can still be pleasant with everyone. And
Exactly.
that's the good thing about, I guess, all of that. As the new crop of talent has come in, we don't need to fight. We don't need to scratch. We don't need to claw. There's enough for us, for everyone, if we all just work together to build a better product. And I feel like that's where pro wrestling is at now. I feel like the locker rooms are a little, I'm not going to say they're not completely not toxic, because that would be bullshit, because people always have egos.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say they're a lot better than they probably were back then.
But, brother, you hit that right on the nose. It's just, you know, like I said, it's every man for himself, you know, and if you did get a push or get moved up the ladder, then they hated you. Like Yokozuna, for instance. I love Yokozuna, don't get me wrong. But I'll tell you the story. When I first got to WWF, if you recall my first TV match, I slammed Yokozuna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went to Yokozuna before the match, and I was telling him what Vince wanted us to do. And I was like, he wants me to slam you. And Yoko had hatred for me back then. And he looks at me as like, well, I hope you can pick me up because I'm not jumping to help you. And I'm like, this boy's almost 600 pounds. You know, I don't know if I can do this, said to myself. But then when I got in the ring and heard the cheers from the crowd, it just boosts me up, man. And I was able to get him up and slam him. I hurt my back in the process, but I was able to do it.
Well, listen, you hurt your back, but you were able to do it. So you got to give yourself credit for that one. You're
Oh,
able to
yeah.
at least fight through the pain. 100%. That's okay. That's what massage therapy is for, right? Little hot stones, you're good. When you look at all the personalities that you were with in those locker rooms, was there anyone that had that on-screen persona of being just a douchebag, but behind the scenes was just a real sweetheart?
Let me think. You know, I don't know about the Warrior. Like the way I see it, George, is I treat you the way you treat me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you treat me good, I'm gonna treat you good back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the Warrior had this reputation of being, you know, an asshole backstage. But I didn't see that with him, man. I remember I came into the building one day and he was in his locker room getting dressed. And he said, Ahmed, he said, come in and get dressed with me, man. And I was like, what an honor. I mean, I get to get dressed in the same room as the Warrior, you know, when he invited me in. And so I went in there, man, and he started schooling me about the business, you know, tell me what to watch out for, who to watch out for. And he even said himself, don't take anybody here as being your friend because they will backstab you in a heartbeat. You know, that's why I the people I associate with, you know, from the WWE is very few. My main boy I associate with is Sabio Vega. You know, that's my main boy I associate with. I used to talk to Farouk, maybe we'll get back talking again on the phone. But you know, Farouk was my boy back then. Rakishi was my boy back then. I thought until, you know, all these dumbass rumors and comments start coming out.
Mm. And that's what hurts the most, right? Because it's like you want to say it, but you know, if people knew the other side of the story, they would see things differently, right? Because there's three sides to every story: yours, his, and the truth. That's
exactly. Just like Mark Henry was kept going on podcasts and saying, "Oh, Ahmed hurt Farouk by kicking him in his kidney first." I'm like, that was Farouk's debut when he kicked me in my kidney. I hadn't even touched Farouk. Matter of fact, I hadn't even seen him until he went out for the match. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Mark Henry started that rumor that I hurt Farouk first and this, that, and the other. No, I did give him a receipt. And during the Chicago street fight, I slammed him through the table really hard, and it broke one of his ribs and it scratched his lung a little bit. But that was your receipt for what you did to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I made that clear to him.
Yeah, you did. And it took a few decades, but at least you two are on somewhat of a cordial thing. And that's what's great to see, because as we get older, you want to put those things to bed. Like myself, I'm 42,
Yeah,
I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I thought I had some built up beef in my mind that I didn't have. And last weekend I was able to squash that beef and I was able to correct it. And both of us were seeing sides from a different angle. And then once we
good
came
for
together, it
you,
was like,
man.
you know what? we're I was being stupid. I admitted that. I'm like, you know what? I don't got no beef. You're doing your thing. I'm doing mine. We can coexist in the same fucking pool. And
Exactly.
and I was very glad I was able to put beef together. So, I'll even say it. Shout out to Johnny I Pro, because him and I thought I had some issues with him. He's another podcaster, and that's never the case. It's something that I probably built up more in my own head than ever was the
Right.
case. And had I just talked to him earlier, maybe all those months of bullshit that I was putting myself through could have just disappeared. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think it takes a bigger man to apologize, a bigger man to admit their wrongs, and not even a man, a bigger person in general to admit their wrongs and their shortcomings, so they can rise above it. And I think, you and Farouk having that meeting of the mind, shaking hands, saying, "Listen, I'm sorry, this was said, that was said, fuck it. Let's just be cordial. We don't got to be best friends again, but we can still exist in the same space."
Exactly.
I love that.
And that thing about me and Farouk was, um, I respected him because he got on a podcast and he said, "Yes, I was jealous of Ahmed." He actually admitted it on a podcast. And I was like, that was pretty cool for him to come straight out and say it, where
Absolutely.
the other guys wouldn't come out and say it. But he came out with the truth, and he said, "Yeah, I was jealous of Ahmed."
Well, I mean, I could see why. I mean, you come out, you're this larger than life character. When he debuts, he's given a horribly god awful creative. I mean, he talks about all the time that fucking helmet. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that, man. And you know what? And when you see the juxtaposition of the debuts, Ahmed Johnson comes out, first television match, he's slamming Yokozuna. Farouk comes out, first television match, he's dressed like a cyborg gladiator. I mean, and I'm not making fun of him. It's just you got to see
Right.
that, you got to see the juxtaposition. You got to, like, if I'm him, I'm like, what the he got to slam fucking Yoko, and
Right.
you got me wearing this fucking thing.
Yeah, football helmet.
Yeah, like what the
From the
hell is happening
1950s.
right now? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I could see that the jealousy would set in earlier, just based off of the two different juxtapositions on the debut, right?
Right. I never thought about it that, Jordan. I'm glad you said that. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, I think I would have been jealous too.
Yeah. Somebody's coming out slamming Yokozuna, who was like a fucking behemoth, and then, hey, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Welcome to the team. Wear this helmet. What the what the fuck
maybe
that
that,
shit? That's probably where
maybe that's why
Dan
he
came
hit them
from.
pretty so hard, man.
Yeah,
He, he
that's
was
probably where
pissed.
Dan came from. He probably looked at it the first time. Damn. That's probably where it came from, man. All right, Ahmed, my final question before I let you go. And again, thank you. This conversation has been life-changing, and I appreciate the time, because
No problem, brother.
a lot of legends, or people from the early days of pro wrestling, they don't give people time like this for just
Exactly.
anything. And you gave me the time for nothing, and I appreciate that. So, Ahmed,
But
before I let you
I believe in like young wrestlers and young podcasters. They ain't got to be a Hannibal or a top of the line podcaster. I like working with the real people like you who go to ask real questions, not somebody who's going to script out, oh, this person said this about this person said that. I like working with real people like you, man.
I appreciate that, sir. Well, I try my best. That's why I wanted to. We talked on Friday. We set this up. I'm like, okay, 3 days. I know my facts, but I gotta brush up a little bit, and I want to make sure the questions are asked differently, and that I can make you. We can have a conversation from a different angle. So, and I feel
Right.
like we hit that nail on the coffin. Now,
Yes,
my
sir.
final question: in your WWE run, there was, so, like I said, so many amazing talents in that locker room. Was there anyone that you didn't get the chance to work with that you really wish you would have been able to work with?
Yeah, there's two people actually.
Okay.
I wanted to work with Stone Cold, and I wanted to work with Sid Vicious.
Oh,
'Cause I think that would have been a hell of a match. But
hell
you
of
know
a
what?
team.
My dream would have been if me and Farouk would have tag team together.
Mm.
That would have been an awesome tag team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could see Ahmed Johnson and Farouk versus the Road Warriors.
Oh yeah.
You know, that would have been a hell of a match, man. Because you know, Hawk didn't play in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Hawk didn't play at all, brother. You know, I got to wrestle Vader, who was one of my bucket lists, was Vader.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could have got Sid Vicious or Stone Cold, I'd have been happy.
Amazing. I love that. Those I figured that I knew Stone Cold was going to be there, but Sid Vicious answer surprised me and excited me in the same breath, which is very, very cool. Well,
Yes.
Tony Norris, aka Ahmed Johnson, this has been a fantastic experience. We've laughed, we've learned, we've talked about football foam helmets, we talked about the career that is Ahmed Johnson, and you know what? Despite all the negativity, the positivity still reigns off you now. So I
Uh-huh.
appreciate that the utmost because you could have let it drag you down, but
Yes,
instead
sir.
you found a way to keep it positive, and I love that. I love that for you as a fan. So thank you for the time.
No, thank you, man, for having me on.
I appreciate you, sir. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Peace, love, and wrestling. Don't forget to click the link below and subscribe. Follow all the socials, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Yo, we just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.